Okay, so I am testing out recording with my iPad to get good overhead shots because there's a pretty good camera on the iPad, so why not use it? What I'm going to do now is run a couple of benchmarks on the new iPad mini 6. To do that, I'm going to use a Microsoft keyboard. It's actually pretty cool and it's still for sale. I got this years ago. It's a folding keyboard that can pair up with, looks like 6 different devices. I've already paired it to this mini so that I can basically use this mini as a mini keyboard, or rather a mini laptop supplement. Okay, I'm gonna run some benchmarks on this new iPad mini 6. Seems to have a pretty good processor, so let's check it out. First, how fast does the web browser run? Let's test that out. Just for some context, my mini 5, which I gave to my wife, will score about 130, 140 on this test. And I just realized something. I have this thing in low power mode. I wonder what kind of impact that'll have on the browser bench. That's why the screen keeps dimming. 120. So I wonder what would happen, and this is just purely off the cuff. I didn't think about doing this. To find out what impact does low battery mode have on battery, or rather performance. Let's run that test again. So it scored 120 before. Seems like it's running a lot faster now. It actually scored lower than the mini from the previous generation. So now it's 246. Wow. That is a massive difference in performance between low power mode and non-low power mode. Let's try that again. I'm actually fascinated now. Because it seems like performance was cut in half by low power mode, which makes me think that low power mode can make this tablet last a very, very long time. Also makes me wonder what will happen if there is a low power mode on the Mac, on the new Macs coming out probably next week. 2020. That is quite a difference. This makes me want to run some battery tests on low power mode for extending the battery. So I think low power mode can make this thing last quite a while, quite a long while. Okay. Now let's run some benchmarks. What impact will low power mode have on Geekbench? This is pretty interesting. The Geekbench scores have been decreased substantially by low power mode. Scoring 713 on single core when it should be scoring significantly higher than that. Not double, but I think it was 1200 when it's not in low power mode. This is actually pretty interesting. Now if I take it off low power mode and we run those benchmarks again, let's see what happens. And now it's 1587 as opposed to 700 and something for single core. The multi-core scores didn't go down, they went down by about 1,000. But the single core score was more than double. So basically the CPU is cut in half in low power mode. That's interesting. Should be obvious, but it's good to actually see the proof. Okay. That's all for my test of overhead filming on an iPad Pro and benchmarking the iPad mini. By the way, these scores are pretty impressive. These scores match it up with an iPad Pro of 2020. Actually, the single core is a little better than the iPad Pro of 2020.